A sweet vanilla aroma drifted from the White House in a residential neighborhood on the outskirts of Chicago. Emily Harrison stood in the kitchen, gently rubbing her pregnant belly as she waited for the cookies to finish baking. Now 8 months pregnant, her body grew heavier each day, but she never failed to make homemade treats for her family. "Emily, why don't you sit down? You don't need to be moving around so much," came Michael's voice from the living room. Her husband was a serious man who worked at an IT company. Their married life, which began when they met in college, would soon reach its 5th anniversary. Emily turned around and smiled. "I'm fine. The doctor said I need moderate exercise." Emily continued working from home as a graphic designer. Her clients trusted her deeply, and she planned to continue working after the baby was born. However, lately, a certain unease had been growing in her heart. The doorbell rang, and cheerful voices echoed from the entrance. Emily's parents, Robert and Carol, had arrived. "Emily," came a high-pitched voice as her sister Sophia burst in. She lived with her husband and their beloved dog Bella. In Sophia's arms was a small toy poodle. "You brought Bella too," Emily said, embracing her sister. "Of course. She's my treasure," Sophia smiled, stroking the dog's head. "But Emily, you've really gotten big. When is the baby due?" "Next month. But since it's my first, the doctor says it might be a little late." Carol entered the kitchen and placed her hand on Emily's shoulder. "Don't overdo it. We're here to help." Hearing those words, Emily's face showed relief. However, that relief didn't last long. Her attention was drawn to the conversation coming from the living room. "Michael, how's the new job?" It was Sophia's voice. "Going well. There's talk of a promotion, and my salary should increase quite a bit." "That's wonderful. Emily must be so happy." Emily stopped what she was doing in the kitchen. She sensed something different in Sophia's voice, an overly sweet tone and a subtle intimacy. "Sophia, could you help me make tea?" Emily called to her sister. "Oh, sure. I'll be right there." When Sophia entered the kitchen, Emily observed her carefully. Were her slightly flushed cheeks from the cold outside, or was there another reason? "Sophia, how are things lately? Are you and your husband getting along well?" Sophia's expression clouded momentarily. "Well, fine, I guess. But he's always working. I wish he'd pay more attention to me." Emily took Sophia's hand. "That must be hard. But marriage is like that sometimes. Michael and I aren't perfect either." "You look happy though," Sophia said, looking up at her sister. "Michael is such a kind man." In that moment, a small doubt was born in Emily's heart. However, she didn't let it show. When dinner time came, the family gathered around the large dining table. Robert became the center of conversation, talking about work and local events. Carol repeatedly spoke about looking forward to her grandchild's birth, and Michael talked about future plans. However, Emily couldn't fully concentrate on the family conversation. Sometimes she noticed the way Sophia looked at Michael. It seemed like something that went beyond mere affection for a brother-in-law. "Emily, are you all right?" Carol asked with concern. "Yes, just a little tired," Emily smiled. "The baby is moving actively. That's proof the grandchild is healthy," Robert said happily. "Emily, you're our family's treasure. Michael takes good care of you, and we're at peace knowing that." Emily nodded gratefully at her father's words. However, deep in her heart, a small anxiety was growing, an anxiety that invisible cracks might be beginning to form in this warm family bond. After the family went home late that night, Emily lay in the bedroom thinking. Each time the baby in her womb gave a gentle kick, she wondered whether she should trust her intuition. It was probably just emotional instability from pregnancy. Telling herself this, Emily fell asleep. A week before Thanksgiving, the traditional family meeting was scheduled. With Emily's delivery approaching, they needed to discuss preparations for welcoming the baby. I think we should have a baby shower, Carol suggested. Let's invite Emily's friends too and celebrate in style. Emily nodded happily. Thank you, Mom. But you don't need to make it too elaborate. What are you saying? It's the first grandchild's birth. We have to do it big, Robert said with a laugh. However, Sophia's reaction was different from the rest of the family. She held Bella in her arms with a somewhat troubled expression. But the baby shower date might conflict with Bella's dog show, Sophia said. She might become champion in the upcoming competition. Carol frowned. Sophia, this is Emily's baby shower. It's more important than a dog show. But this might be a once-in-a-lifetime chance for Bella, Sophia insisted stubbornly. Emily watched her sister and tilted her head mentally. The old Sophia would have prioritized her sister's celebration. But lately, something about her had changed. It's okay, Sophia, Emily said gently. Prioritize Bella's show. I don't mind. Michael placed his hand on Emily's shoulder. You're always so kind. At that moment, Emily noticed Sophia staring at Michael. It wasn't an expression of gratitude, but something more complex. The following week, Emily went to her regular prenatal checkup. Usually Michael would accompany her, but that day he said he had a sudden meeting and couldn't come. The baby is growing smoothly, the doctor said, looking at the ultrasound image. You'll meet soon. Emily felt lonely having to experience this moment alone. After the checkup, she stopped at a baby goods store on her way home. Looking at the tiny clothes and toys naturally made her smile. While paying at the register, the clerk spoke to her. Is this your first child? Yes, it is. Your husband must be thrilled. Emily nodded, but questions swirled in her mind. Was Michael really looking forward to the baby's birth? Lately, when she brought up the baby, he often changed the subject. When she got home, she heard Michael's voice on the phone in the living room. Emily quietly set down her shopping bags and listened to the conversation. Next Friday would work for me. Emily has plans to meet friends. Emily wondered who he was talking to and crept closer. That place is fine. It's not conspicuous. Michael's voice was lower than usual, with a secretive tone. Emily felt her heartbeat quicken. Okay, I'll contact you again. When Michael hung up, Emily hurried back to the entrance and pretended she had just returned. Welcome home, Emily. How was the checkup? Michael asked in his normal manner. Fine. But I wish you could have been there. Sorry, it was a sudden meeting. I'll definitely go with you next time. Michael's smile was the same as always, but to Emily it looked artificial. As Christmas approached, Emily's unease was turning into conviction. It happened while she was helping prepare for the family Christmas party. Emily, don't carry heavy things. I'll do it, Sophia said kindly. However, Emily didn't miss the moment when Sophia's eyes met Michael's. There was some unspoken exchange between them. On the day of the party, family and relatives gathered for a lively time. Emily was sitting on the sofa, tired, when she suddenly noticed that Sophia and Michael were nowhere to be seen. Where are Sophia and Michael? Emily asked Carol. Sophia probably took Bella outside. I don't know about Michael. Emily lifted her heavy body and looked outside. In the garden where snow had begun to fall, she could see Sophia and Michael standing and talking. The distance between them seemed too close for in-laws. Then Michael placed his hand on Sophia's shoulder. Sophia looked up and gazed at Michael. Emily's heart froze. Emily, are you all right? You look pale, Carol approached with concern. Just a little tired, Emily forced a smile. That night, Emily lay in bed thinking. If her intuition was correct, something was happening between her husband and sister. However, she still didn't have enough evidence to be certain. The next morning, Emily noticed Michael's cell phone. The phone that should have been on the charger was still in his jacket pocket. Michael was taking a shower, and a message notification sounded from the phone. Emily was conflicted. She shouldn't invade her husband's privacy. However, for the sake of the baby in her womb, she needed to know the truth. She fearfully picked up the phone. A message from Sophia was displayed on the screen. Yesterday was fun. Can we meet alone again sometime? Emily's hands trembled. Another message followed. Don't tell Emily. She'll have enough to worry about with the birth coming up. Emily put the phone back in its place and rushed to the bathroom. Nausea welled up, but she didn't know if it was from pregnancy or shock. When Michael came out of the shower, he kissed Emily as usual. I'll come home early today, so let's cook dinner together. Emily nodded, but in her heart she had made a decision. If her husband and sister were betraying her, she needed to know the truth. And she had to take action to protect the baby in her womb. That afternoon, Emily called her friend Jessica. Jessica worked as a private investigator and was an old friend of Emily's. Jessica, I need to talk to you. Can you keep it secret? Of course, Emily. What happened? Emily explained the situation and requested an investigation. If her suspicions were wrong, that would be reassuring. But if they were true, she had to resolve everything before the baby was born. On the second Friday in February, Chicago was issued a record snowfall warning. Weather forecasters urged people to stay indoors, but Emily had a reason she needed to go shopping. Emily, stay home today. I'll take care of the shopping on my way home, Michael said worriedly before leaving for work. It's okay. It's just to the nearby supermarket, Emily smiled in response. However, her real purpose wasn't shopping. Jessica had contacted her, saying she wanted to hand over the investigation results directly. Now 9 months pregnant, this might be her last chance to know the truth. At 2 p.m., Emily put on a heavy coat and left the house. Snow had already accumulated to knee height, and the sidewalks were frozen. She carefully made her way to the cafe where they had arranged to meet. Emily, thank you for coming in this weather. Jessica was waiting in a back seat of the cafe. Her expression was heavy, and anxiety spread in Emily's chest. Before I show you the photos, are you mentally prepared? Emily took a deep breath and nodded. Show me. The moment Emily saw the photos Jessica took from the manila envelope, her world collapsed. There were images of Michael and Sophia kissing in a luxury hotel parking lot. Furthermore, there were photos of the two walking hand in hand through the hotel lobby and gazing at each other in a restaurant. This relationship has been going on for at least 6 months, Jessica explained quietly. They seem to meet every Friday. Since you became pregnant, it's become even more frequent. Emily's hands trembled. She felt the baby in her womb moving violently. There's one more thing I discovered, Jessica continued. There's a high possibility your parents know too. What? There's a record of your mother having a long phone conversation with Sophia last month. After that, your father had dinner alone with Michael. This is speculation, but there's a possibility the whole family was discussing something together. Emily tried to stand up but felt unsteady. I have to go home. I need to think calmly for the baby's sake. Emily, just stay home today. Tomorrow I'll introduce you to a lawyer. When she left the cafe, the snow was falling even harder. Emily walked on the frozen sidewalk, clutching the photos. Various thoughts swirled in her head, love for her family, anger at the betrayal, and worry for the baby to be born. When she turned the corner, Emily's foot slipped. She desperately tried to maintain her balance, but couldn't steady herself because of her heavy belly. The moment she hit her head on the ice, consciousness faded away. A passing woman called an ambulance, and Emily was transported unconscious to St. Mary's Hospital. The patient is a woman at 36 weeks pregnant. She fell and hit her head severely, remaining unconscious, the emergency medical team leader explained. After examining Emily's condition, the attending physician Dr. Chin showed a serious expression. This could affect the fetus as well. Please contact the family immediately. A nurse called the Harrison household from the hospital records. The first call reached Carol. Harrison residence. Is this Mrs. Harrison, Emily Harrison's mother? This is a nurse from St. Mary's Hospital. Your daughter was in an accident and has been brought in as an emergency. From the other end of the phone, Carol's voice could be heard. An accident? Is she all right? She's unconscious, and the baby is also in danger. Could you come to the hospital immediately? After a moment of silence, Carol's voice returned. But today is Bella's 5th birthday. I'm baking a cake and can't leave. The nurse couldn't believe her ears. Ma'am, this is a life-threatening situation for your daughter. The baby is also in a dangerous state. But Bella's birthday only comes once a year. I can't leave the cake unfinished. Ma'am, I repeat, both Emily and the baby are in life-threatening danger. All right. I'll come later. The phone was hung up abruptly. The nurse then called Michael's cell phone. Hello? Is this Michael Harrison? Your wife Emily has been in an accident and was brought in as an emergency. What? Emily? Michael's voice showed agitation. She hit her head severely and is unconscious. The fetus is also in danger. Please come to the hospital immediately. I'm in an important meeting right now. How dangerous is it? The nurse was appalled. This is a life-threatening situation. Please come immediately. I understand. But it might take about an hour. Dr. Chen heard the report from the nurse and showed an expression of disbelief. That was the family's reaction? Yes, it's unbelievable. The mother prioritized a dog's birthday party, and the husband prioritized a meeting. After that, the hospital staff contacted the family many times. However, no one appeared at the hospital. Robert said, "Today is Friday and I'm busy with work," and Sophia answered, "I can't leave because I'm taking care of Bella." A week passed. Emily had regained consciousness but was secretly talking with doctors and nurses without telling her family. She remembered everything from before the accident and still had the photos she received from Jessica. "Doctor, could you accurately tell my family about my condition?" Emily asked Dr. Chen. "Of course. But your family's reaction is abnormal. Normally, they would rush here immediately. I have my own plan. I think my family will come today. When they do, they'll learn the truth." Emily placed divorce papers by her pillow and spread out the photos she received from Jessica. Then she quietly spoke to the baby in her womb. Soon everyone will know Daddy and Mommy's true nature. At 3 p.m., the family finally arrived. The moment Michael, Sophia, Robert, and Carol opened the hospital room door, they were speechless. On the bed, photos of Michael and Sophia kissing were neatly arranged, and next to them was a signed divorce decree. Emily smiled quietly as she looked at her family. "Thank you for your hard work, everyone. You've been celebrating Bella's birthday for a whole week, haven't you?" Michael's face turned pale, and Sophia covered her mouth with her hand upon seeing the photos. It took Robert and Carol several seconds to understand the situation. "Emily, this is a misunderstanding," Michael said in a trembling voice. "A misunderstanding?" Emily answered calmly. "A 6-month misunderstanding? Or was prioritizing a dog's birthday over my life also a misunderstanding?" The hospital room was enveloped in silence. What broke the heavy silence was Sophia's sobbing. However, Emily's expression remained cold as ice. "Please sit down, everyone. This will be a long story," Emily said in a calm voice. "First, the fact that I was unconscious was a lie. I regained consciousness on the 3rd day." Michael tried to speak, but Emily stopped him with her hand. "Please listen quietly. I've been investigating you all for 6 months. Carol said in a trembling voice. Emily, what are you saying? I commissioned private investigator Jessica Parker. About Michael and Sophia's affair, and also about the conspiracy involving the entire family. Robert's face turned pale. Conspiracy? What are you talking about? Emily took out a thick file from the bedside drawer. It's all here. How Michael and Sophia met every Friday at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. How Mom had long phone consultations with Sophia. How Dad had dinner alone with Michael. She opened the file and spread photos and call records on the table. What's interesting is that the day after Dad met with Michael, he purchased stocks in his company. And somehow he knew in advance that those stocks would rise. Robert stood up, wiping sweat. Emily, that was a coincidence. A coincidence? Emily sneered. Insider trading using inside information from Michael's company. I thought Dad was investing his retirement money, but actually he was making illegal profits from information obtained from my husband. Carol opened her mouth in a trembling voice. Emily, Mom didn't know anything. Really? Emily took out another document. This is a recording log of the phone call between you and Sophia. There are recorded conversations saying, make sure Emily never finds out, and, once the baby is born, Emily will be busy with childcare and won't suspect anything. Sophia looked up. Her makeup was ruined from tears, but her eyes showed a hint of defiance. But Emily, you don't love Michael. You're always working and never listen to him. Is that so? Emily answered quietly. And you thought that gave you the right to steal my husband? Michael finally spoke up. Emily, I did love you. But the time I spent with Sophia was more enjoyable. I'm sure it was enjoyable. Having an affair while I was pregnant must have been quite thrilling. Emily's voice was cold as ice. But at first we were just friends. Sophia was having trouble in her marriage and I was just giving her advice. 6 months of advice resulted in these photos? Emily pointed to the pictures. Kissing in a hotel was part of the counseling? Sophia stood up and tried to approach Emily. Emily, sister, please. This is true love. We're meant to be together. Meant to be? Emily laughed. If you're meant to be together, why were you meeting secretly during my pregnancy? Why didn't you tell me the truth openly and honestly? Robert intervened. Emily, let's value family bonds. We can resolve this through discussion. Family bonds? Emily's voice rose. A family that prioritized a dog's birthday when I was fighting for my life talks about bonds? She got up from the bed and walked to the window. The snow had stopped and blue sky was visible. Actually, there's one more thing I know. Emily turned around. Dad, you were also looking into my inheritance rights, weren't you? About the trust fund grandmother left me. Robert's face turned completely pale. That fund becomes completely mine when I turn 35. That's 3 more years. But if I divorce or die, those rights might transfer to my husband. So Dad made a deal with Michael, didn't he? That's not. Robert tried to deny it, but Emily raised her hand to stop him. I checked with a lawyer. It was also discovered that Dad took out grandmother's will and showed it to Michael. A $2 million trust fund is quite attractive, isn't it? Carol broke down crying. Emily, we really do love you. Love? Emily shook her head. When a daughter you love is fighting for her life, is continuing to bake a dog's cake love. When you know your beloved daughter's husband is having an affair and you hide it, is that love? Michael tried to approach, but Emily stepped back. That's enough. Please sign these papers. Emily pointed to the divorce decree. The alimony is $5 million. I won't report Dad's illegal trading to the police if Michael cooperates. $5 million? Michael shouted. Where would that kind of money come from? Your company's stocks. If you renounce the profits you gained conspiring with Dad and your rights to my trust fund, it comes to exactly that amount. Sophia said in a desperate voice, Emily, we really love each other. It's not about money. Is that so? Emily answered coldly. Then let me ask Michael something. Sophia, if money has nothing to do with it, why was your first date at the Ritz-Carlton? Why did you always eat at expensive restaurants? When Michael remained silent, Sophia's face turned pale. The answer is simple, Emily continued. Michael approached you in anticipation of future wealth. And you, out of jealousy toward your sister, responded to it. Dad and Mom prioritized financial gain over their daughter's happiness. The hospital room was again enveloped in silence. During this week, I kept thinking while lying in this hospital bed, Emily said calmly. I don't want to show such a family to the baby in my womb. I want this child to grow up in an environment filled with true love. She placed the divorce papers in front of Michael. Please sign. And leave this room. Never come near me and my child again. Michael took the pen with trembling hands and signed the divorce papers. Sophia collapsed in tears, and Robert and Carol stood speechless. Goodbye, Harrison family, Emily turned her back. Even if you try to contact us in the future, it's useless. I will only respond through lawyers. After the family left, the hospital room door opened again. This time, people who truly loved Emily entered. Emily. Her best friend Jessica rushed over and gently embraced her. You did so well. Next to Jessica was Dr. Chin, who had continued to support Emily throughout the week. He had become more than just her attending physician. Doctor, thank you so much, Emily smiled. If you hadn't been here, I couldn't have overcome this trial alone. Dr. Chin took her hand. Emily, you were the bravest patient. And if you'd like, I want to continue supporting you. That night, Emily went into labor. After 18 hours of delivery, a healthy baby boy was born. Looking at the baby grasping his mother's finger with his tiny hand, Emily shed tears. They weren't tears of sadness, but tears of hope. This child's name is Ethan, Emily told Jessica. A name meaning strong. I want to teach this child what true strength really is. 3 months later, Emily moved to San Francisco. The new apartment was small, but filled with love. Dr. Chin also transferred to the University of California Medical School and supported Emily and Ethan's new life. Meanwhile, the Harrison family left behind in Chicago was falling apart. Michael and Sophia hastily married, but couldn't trust each other. Sophia continued to suspect that her husband was cheating with other women, and Michael suspected that Sophia had approached him for money. Honey, was yesterday's meeting real? Sophia asked at the dinner table. How many times do I have to say it? If you can't trust me, there's no point in being together, Michael answered irritably. But you lied to me when you were married to Emily too. You did the same thing. Their relationship deteriorated daily, leading to separation and then divorce a year after marriage. Even their beloved dog Bella became sickly from the stress of their hostile relationship. Robert and Carol completely lost their reputation in the community. Because Emily's friends spread the truth, they became known in the neighborhood as the parents who abandoned their daughter. Carol was expelled from her volunteer organization, and Robert was forced into early retirement. What have we done? Carol cried in the now empty house. We've lost Emily and our grandchild. It's too late for regrets now, Robert answered in an exhausted voice. We thought only about money and lost sight of what was truly important. 2 years later in spring, Emily had a small wedding. The groom was Dr. Chin, David, who had now become her husband. Ethan toddled over to his father, and the three became a happy family. Emily's graphic design company also grew steadily, and she lived an economically and emotionally independent life. One day, Emily spoke at lunch with friends. I learned something through that painful experience. A true family isn't about blood relations, it's about the people who stay by your side in your most difficult times. She looked at Ethan playing outside the window. David, Jessica, and all the hospital staff. They are my true family. Bonds of the heart are much stronger than bonds of blood. Emily's life, the new chapter that began with betrayal and despair, was filled with love and hope. Without harboring resentment toward the past, she lived each day preciously while teaching Ethan the importance of love and honesty. In distant Chicago, the former Harrison family members each faced their loneliness, but Emily no longer looked back. Having found what true happiness meant, the pain of the past had become nourishment for her growth. On a day when the San Francisco sunset was beautiful, Emily walked through the park with her husband and son. As Ethan's laughter carried on the wind, she smiled from her heart. Here was a life surrounded by true love.